All right, guys, so on today's training, what we're going to break down, and you can see it from the title, is what's a macro and why should I track it? And honestly, if I could go back and rename this, I would say, what's a macro and why the fuck should I track it? Because that's just who I am. And if you're somebody who gets offended by cursing, then you probably shouldn't be in this group and shouldn't watch my videos, because every single video I do is explicit and needs lots of bleeping. And in fact, whenever I message or send a voice memo to a client, I have at one point told them that all of my voice memos are censored and should be played with caution, specifically around children or people of importance. I know that there are some people who fucking love it and they love the realness of it, so I just keep, you know what, it's just who I am. I grew up with a truck driver mouth. I contributed to my father, and you know what? That's the one thing that I got from him that I appreciate. Anywho, let's talk about macros and why the fuck you should track them. Now, first, when we're talking about macros, I want to kind of go a little bit more broad. So, the foundation of macros would be a calorie. And simply put, a calorie is just a unit of energy. And it's a unit of energy that's used to measure the amount of energy that a certain food or drink provides when we consume it. So, what happens when you eat food or drink something that has calories in it is our body is going to metabolize it, or that's a fancy way of saying break it down. And by breaking it down, it releases that energy into the body, where your cells are going to capture that energy to fuel your body, to fuel typically normal bodily functions necessary for survival. So let's back that up. Calories are energy. We need energy to survive, not just to work out. Okay? Because I feel like a lot of people have an unhealthy relationship with food where they almost feel like they have to earn their food. And when they have a rest day, they feel like they can't consume food, or they have a little bit of hesitation towards eating because they think that they haven't earned their calories, which is ridiculous. Let's really break that down. So when your body's at rest, your body still requires calories and energy to keep you alive. For example, with breathing, with your organs, with your brain working and your heart pumping blood, regulating your blood pressure and your body temperature, and digesting the food that you eat. Calories provide energy for all of these things. All right? So calories, we'll say, is the bottom of the pyramid, right? And then we have your macros, which is like a step up. Now, macronutrients are just nutrients that your body requires in larger quantities. And those macros are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And then, of course, there is the fourth macro, which is alcohol. But we're not going to talk about alcohol today. We're going to talk about what the majority of you are actually consuming as calories, which is carbs, proteins, and fats. Now, let's break each and every single one down in the most simple way possible, because, again, simplicity is key. Complexity is the enemy of success. If you guys don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm talking at such a high level, then it's going to go over your head. You're not going to care about it. So, carbs equal energy. That's what I want you to remember, okay? Carbohydrates, not just tasty. They are also your body's preferred source of energy. So when you eat carbs, say you eat an apple, that is broken down into glucose, which is sugar, which is your primary fuel for your brain, for your red blood cells, for your nervous system, and for your entire body. So when you're looking at carbs, we have two different categories. You have a simple carbohydrate. You have, a thumbs up. You also have a complex carbohydrate. And how I want you to look at carbs is that carbs are like a chain link fence. So if you have a complex carb, it has multiple links in that chain. When you're looking at a simple carb, it has one link in the chain. So if you think of it like that and you use that analogy when you're looking at complex or simple carbs, then you can start to understand that a complex carb because it has more links in the chain, is going to take a longer period of time to break down and absorb and be used as energy in our body versus a simple carb, which can be used for quick energy. So if you're about to work out, if you're working out and you need some intra-workout carbs to get you through the session, or after a workout when you're trying to recover and refuel, where fast digestion is very beneficial. So the differences between a complex and a simple carb are very simple. No pun intended. Usually complex carbs are going to have a higher nutrient level, typically more fiber, which fiber breaks down and digests very slowly. So it's, again, going to break down more slowly. The rate of digestion is also a factor. So simple carbs, like we said, are going to digest very quickly. They will have a more immediate impact on blood sugar, where complex carbs are going to digest more slowly over time, and they're going to have less of an immediate impact on blood sugar. Now, what I need you guys to understand about blood sugar, because if you go on fucking Instagram or you go on social media, you'll see people fearing blood sugar. Like, oh my God, our blood sugar should never spike. That's so freaking messed up and wrong. Because it scares people and fear gets views. But let's break down the science. Blood sugar spikes are normal. They are not something that you should fear. The problem is when they are chronically elevated blood sugar levels. For example, when you're fucking stressed all the time, when you don't have enough muscle, or when you're inactive. That's a problem. Right now, muscle, not only is it the secret to fat loss, but it helps you better store and use carbs more efficiently as energy. So that is why I say obesity is the smoke, but being under-muscled is the fire. It's the fucking problem is that we don't have enough muscle. Because when you can use carbs more efficiently as energy and store it in muscle instead of in fat, you fucking win. All right? So again, biggest thing to take away here, don't fear carbs. They are delicious. They fuel performance. They fuel your brain. They fuel your body. And they are, again, your primary preferred source of fuel. Protein. Let's get into protein. This is the one that all of you guys know about. You're like, fuck, I know about this one. Do you? Protein is used for growth and repair and rebuilding. So anything that requires growth, repair, and building in your body needs protein to actually happen. So basically everything needs protein. If you don't have protein in your life, you will die, literally die, if you don't eat protein. So kind of shows how important it is. It's an essential nutrient. Now, protein is rarely going to be used as energy. It will only be used as energy when carbs and fats are lacking. Because your body doesn't want to use protein as energy. It's not efficient. Protein is used for growth and repair. So using it as what it's made to be used for is what's efficient. Your body's a machine. But it will, if you're literally starving and you have no carbs or fats in your system to use as fuel, it will break down amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, which are the building blocks of muscle. It will break down muscle through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is why it's so important to consume enough carbs and fats so that you are not breaking down muscle. Because remember, muscle is the secret to fat loss and longevity, so you don't want to break it down. All right? So protein is going to fuel your fat loss in the sense where it's going to help with muscle growth and recovery. It's going to be the most satiating macro, meaning it's going to keep you fuller longer, which will help with cravings, which will help with blood sugar control if you're afraid of that. But it'll also make it much more helpful if you are in a calorie deficit, because if you're in a calorie deficit and you're starving all the time, it's really hard to be in a calorie deficit. Makes it miserable. If something is miserable, you are less likely to do it. So protein is going to keep you more satiated, make it easier to stay in that calorie deficit. Plus, can we please remember that protein is fucking delicious? Nice steak, nice chicken, some eggs. Damn good. But protein is also going to be the macro that costs the most amount of energy to digest. So you actually burn more calories digesting protein compared to carbs and fats. Another reason why we love protein. But let's not leave behind the fats. So the third macro is fat. Now let's not mistake dietary fats with body fat or adipose tissue. They are not the same. So if you eat dietary fats, that doesn't mean that you will get fat. Fats are super important for hormone production. That's the number one thing that I want to drive forward when it comes to fats. Fats are necessary for hormone production. And if your hormone production is poor or not efficient, good luck being healthy, losing body fat, and thriving. Fat is also essential for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. Plus, they can be used as a source of energy, though they are not the preferred source of energy, because remember, carbs, our friends, are the preferred source of energy. However, fats can be used as energy, specifically in times where you're at a very low intensity. So if I'm just standing here doing nothing, which I'm never standing here doing nothing, which is why I eat so many fucking carbs, because I always have to fuel myself. But fats can be used as a source of energy when you're literally doing nothing. So the thing that I want to drive home about fats, again, when it comes to hormone production, is for that reason, I would never, ever, ever put a female under 40 grams of fat and a male under 50 grams of fat. When you are at under those levels for a prolonged period of time, you will feel the effects. Case one, myself. When I had an eating disorder, but also when I was on bodybuilding prep and I was eating 20 grams of fat every day, I can't even remember that time of my life, and I fucked up my hormones so bad that I'm still paying the price for it almost 10 years later. So, fats are important. Eat your fats. They're delicious too. But the biggest thing you need to remember when it comes to putting this all together, say your goal is fat loss, because I know that that's where a majority of people lie. Even if they want to build muscle, they simultaneously want to lose body fat. So for fat loss, number one thing, you have to be in a calorie deficit, meaning you have to eat less energy than you burn. Makes sense. Very easy. However, it's not as simple as eat less, move more, because that's a recipe for usually disaster. Because then you get caught in this cycle where if I just do a fuck ton of cardio, then I'll lose weight. For a little bit, probably. However, what happens when that weight loss starts to become muscle loss? And remember, muscle burns more calories at rest, so if you lose muscle, you burn less calories, which means you have to eat less in order to sustain the results that you've made. And then eventually, you're eating so little that it's no longer sustainable. That's why so many people lose weight and then gain it all back. So, the most important thing here is building muscle. Because muscle, like I said, is going to burn more calories at rest, which is going to help you burn more calories throughout the course of your day, which means you can eat more, which means it becomes more sustainable, which means you don't always have to chase a calorie burn during your workouts, because that gets miserable. Now, the thing is, if you eat too low calorie, then your metabolism will slow down and your hormones will shift to conserve energy in the form of holding on to body fat. Not what we want. All right, so restriction is never the answer. So if you are somebody who has a goal of fat loss and you're like, Caitlin, I get it. I know what macros are now and I know why I should track them. But where the fuck do I start? Well, first of all, you should probably download some sort of an app to help you track your macros. I use the First Form app. I've used the First Form app since the First Form app was a fucking thing. Before that, I used MyFitnessPal. And let me tell you, the First Form app is significantly easier to use. And it has so many other perks to it. But that's what I use. That's what my clients use. So I will put the link down below in the comments, down below in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast, to the first form link, so that way you guys can download the app that I use to track. And if you download the link that I put, we can work together and I can advise you to help you. Now, it's different from one-on-one coaching, so that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind. But here's where you can start if you're somebody who's like, I want specific numbers to follow. Like, tell me exactly what numbers to hit and I will fucking hit them. Great. So take your goal weight, multiply that weight by 12. That is the calories that you should aim for. And I like to give a range here. So I would say if you were, we're going to keep it really simple. If you were, math is going to be way too hard right now. So say you have a goal where your goal weight times 12 equals 2,000 calories. Then I would recommend you aim for 1,900 to 2,100 calories. So that way you have a little bit of a range, because you have to understand that if you don't hit 2,000 calories perfectly, you didn't fuck anything up, okay? Understand that. You can't fuck this up, all right? Then take your goal weight, multiply it by 1, and that's the amount of protein in grams that you should consume every day. Calories, protein are going to be the most important things, and most people can see phenomenal results just tracking and adhering to those two things alone. The third thing I would throw in there to make you even more on top of your shit is track your fiber and aim for 25 to 40 grams of fiber daily. Females, you can aim for like 25 to 30, men 30 to 40. That's where I would start. Now, if you want to get even more meticulous and you're like, well, how many fats do I eat? How many carbs do I eat? I usually, if I'm just setting macros for someone, I'll usually set their fats at about 30 to 35%, depending on what that person prefers. If they like more fats, we give them more fats. If they like more carbs, we give them more carbs, because again, adherence is the most important thing, and calories and protein and fiber are going to be the most important thing anyway. And then remembering never to dip below 40 grams if you're a female when it comes to fat, and 50 if you're a male. Then I would just fill in carbs with the remaining calories. Now, if you were my client, here's how we do things when you first get started. I will literally ask you to track your macros in the First Form app for 3 to 5 days so I can see what your habits and your behaviors currently are, and then we usually add from there. And you're like, wait, what do you mean add? You add? You don't subtract? No, because addition is better than restriction, remember. So what I generally would add for most people is, hey, you're only eating 50 grams of protein. We need to eat like 150 grams of protein. You're only eating 2 grams of fiber. We need to eat like 30 grams of fiber. We're eating like one whole food a day and the rest is processed shit. Let's eat more whole foods. So usually it's more protein, more fiber, more whole foods, which naturally usually puts people in a calorie deficit, because that combination of protein, fiber, and whole foods is so satiating that it's almost impossible, not impossible, but almost impossible, very difficult to overconsume. So the biggest thing for you guys to remember from all of this is that if you want to see the best results possible, you need to manage and measure the food that you're consuming. Because what gets measured gets managed, and what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. And then you're usually just guessing your way towards results, which usually doesn't work out very well, or you get so frustrated that you quit. So I highly recommend, if you have a specific goal that you're looking to accomplish, that you take your nutrition seriously, you track your nutrition, you are honest with what you're tracking, you use a food scale to make sure that you're doing it accurately, and you track everything that goes into your mouth, because so many people will start tracking and then they don't track the sauces, the peanut butter, all the things that add up. So, biggest thing, track your calories, track your macros. Don't become obsessed with it, but track it to have data and to know what the fuck you're actually putting in your mouth. So that way you can make an educated decision on whether you're on the right path or not. But guys, if you need anything, if you have any questions when it comes to calories, when it comes to macros, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to anything at all, comment them down below. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message. You know where to find me. I'm always here to help you. But I'm also going to put 2 links in the show notes, 2 links in the comments, the First Form app, as well as Actually, I won't put a link for this. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching, I have 3 spots available for May. It is May 13th. You have until the end of May. Put a little fire emoji down below, and I will contact you, and we can talk about that, what that would look like for you. But if you're serious about getting results, highly recommend having a coach that you trust. I have 2. So, guys, go out, make it a great day, and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.